Professionals have resolved over one. Okay, we'll start after this.
Sounds good.
One call to Optima can start the process, helping you put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Toole the Third. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. No Sarah this week. Keith Lombardi is on his way. He's stuck in the gridlock of City Line Avenue, which is all good. And we are going to be talking about a number of topics here. Obviously, one of the biggest things we're going to be chatting about today is the NAR downgrading the housing forecast for 2025. The National Association of Realtors downgrading the housing forecast for 2025. And then we've got some incredible local news where we have a small town that was named the best small town in the country. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. We've got some targets coming to the suburbs. A key piece of land was bought by Upper Marion Township, and there's a Conshohocken steel plant that's attracting developers. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team, you can certainly do that with the link in the comments. So let's talk about what NAR is doing to downgrade the housing forecast. So we've seen that, and this is no surprise here if you ask me, but Lawrence Yun, he's the chief economist for NAR. They had the National Association of Realtors Forecast Summit on July 16th, so just about a week ago. And Lawrence Yun came out and said 2025 is not going to be the comeback year that many predicted. Well, this is old news. I mean, I think everybody kind of knew this. That was, in terms of, that this is no surprise here. And Lawrence Yun, I mean, it's just one of those things where, he comes out every month, gets paid like $900,000 a year and makes these comments. But it is important to kind of acknowledge that there's a reset on expectations for 2025 and what's going to happen in the housing market. So, at the start of the year, he was very bullish. And in November 2023, he predicted a 9% increase in home sales for 2025. That got downgraded to 6% in March. And now, as of last week's summit, the forecast dropped again. His current prediction is a 3% increase in home sales for 2025. And locally, we're not even seeing that. If you look at our year-over-year numbers that are coming from Bright MLS, they do a great job with these weekly stats. Well, we've seen that the new purchase contracts week over week compared to a year ago, they're down 0.5%. And so that's what's happening, with the entire Bright MLS service area. When you look at their numbers through the end of June, and I always like to look at the local numbers here, what's happening in the Philadelphia metro, because Bright is such a big marketplace where it talks about, Baltimore, D.C., Jersey. There's all these markets here. Closed sales are up 2.1% in the greater Philadelphia area, and that includes the two northern counties in Delaware, parts of South Jersey, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, Delaware counties, and the city of Philadelphia. But new pending sales are down 1%. So we're going to call it flat. Let's call it up 1.1, just if you take the delta. That's not quite how the math's going to work. So there's a reset here. And, mortgage rates didn't budge in the spring, staying closer to 7% when many economists expected a drop. Even today, we're seeing rates come in at like 6 7/8, 6.95. I mean, these are some of the local rate quotes, unless you're looking at a jumbo or a PHFA loan, which are some great products you can take advantage of. And, Lawrence Yun came out and said, hey, so far this year's been a bummer. And I don't know that it's a bummer for agents, but a lot of consumers expected more inventory to come to the market. They were hoping for more homes to come for sale. And he emphasized with his revised forecast that the expectation is for sales to climb next year, not fall. And there's a much more optimistic scenario on the horizon. So listen to this number. This number is shocking. They're predicting existing home sales are going to be up 14% in 2026. That would be an incredible number. New home sales basically flat because their prediction is up 5% this year, up 5% next year. Median home prices up 4%, mortgage rates at 6%. The expectation for mortgage rates at the end of the year is 6.7, which I think is pretty realistic. And they're talking about 2 million job gains. But the number that jumps out at me here is this 14% jump in 2026. Because if his methodology is that if mortgage rates fall to 6% by the end of this year and stay there, Dr. Yoon believes that 2026 could bring a major surge in buyer activity, which I totally agree with. If rates fall, you're going to see a lot of people jump into the housing market. And the assumption is, these are his words, we're not going to face a recession despite all of this discussion of tariffs. And the stock market is hovering around all-time highs, which could lead to business community investment. And I mean, a 14% jump, it's fueled by a wave of pent-up demand and finally meeting improved affordability, which has gotten better. So that 14% jump, that's something that is wild to me. And it's it's just something that is going to be it's going to be incredible. So you look at that 14% jump. I mean, what would it take for that to happen? You definitely have to see lower rates, and on top of that lower rates, you'd have to see some more liquidity in the market. So with that, I think it's something that you need to be mindful of, right? I mean, is there a sentiment that the market's loosening up? And what I would argue is that as time goes by, people's lives aren't going to be able to stop. As times goes by, and imagine you got some kids, right? You're living in the house, and the house is getting too small for you. Then at some point, and this happens, you can't delay life anymore. When the home's too big and you can't take care of it, you can't delay life anymore, and that's going to be a major driver here. So it's something we need to kind of be mindful of. Now, at the Forecast Summit, he also walked through the data from NAR's newly released Market Statistics Dashboard. If you're an agent listening to this, I think this is phenomenal data because it basically tells you who the buyers are in the marketplace. And for any home seller listening out there, if you get a listing agent that walks in and says, I know everything about the buyer except their name, well, that's someone you want to be hiring because they're going to be able to target market that person and tell you exactly who's going to be there. And this tool, this market statistics dashboard, it's going to help agents visualize how rate changes could affect demand in their local market. So, you can see how market conditions are going to affect demand. Now, based on some of these national projections, a sustained drop in rates to 6% could lead to 550,000 additional home sales. City Line Avenue, gotcha. Keith is here. Very excited to have him. We'll have him pop in a second as he gets settled. And the additional 550 additional home sales within 12 to 18 months, that reflects the number of households that could afford to buy at the new rate if they came down to 6%. That could affect the share of the households likely to make a move and how affordability directly translates to increased transaction volume. So NAR's got this dashboard. This tool apparently is going to help people predict things. And the biggest thing coming out of this downgrade from Lawrence Yoon is that it's disappointing for 2025. The foundation of the market's pretty strong. And I think this is really interesting here. And Keith, I'd love you to chime in on this. So Lawrence Yoon revised all his predictions, and he said real estate's on very solid ground right now. He's talking about high equity levels, low delinquency rates, large number of households that own their homes outright. In other words, this isn't a crash. So despite him downgrading the number of sales that are going to be happening this year, what's your view locally of the market? Are we on solid ground here? Are we in a good place? He's talking about a big bump in sales next year of 14%. What are you seeing in the field? I mean, you're meeting with buyers and sellers every single day. I mean, you're doing it looks like a deal a day at this point almost.
Yeah, I mean, and having such a broad scope of an area too, I'm lucky that I get to experience it in a lot of different areas, even across a couple of states. There are plenty of people out there right now who are, transacting for varying reasons. A lot of, empty nesters downgrading and a lot of upgrading as well. People who are relocating for a better school district, or also people who are relocating state to state. The amount of people moving from PA to Delaware over the past year has been crazy.
What do you attribute that? Is it a tax thing down? I mean,
well, definitely taxes. But a lot of people also just don't know the area. So, one of the things that once they learn, Brandywine School District, for example, which is a pretty good school district in North Wilmington, and you can still get that suburban feel with the bigger colonial homes, but the taxes are a third of what you're going to pay for the same price in PA, especially, Delaware County. The taxes, my taxes alone, my taxes are almost $7,000 a year on my twin home. So you can get the same house. I happened to be out there this past weekend, and the taxes are $2,000 on a 2,500 square foot home. So,
well, it's interesting you say that, because affordability has been such a problem, and it looks like people, if they want to make an upgrade, that you take that $5,000 a month or a year, right? It's basically, $400 a month, let's call it. We'll round down a little bit. But that translates into almost $80,000 of housing affordability. So, that's a really interesting trend that you're talking about here. Do you see a lot of people taking advantage of that, or is it ones that have the flexibility with schools and their lives? Because that's a big difference moving from PA to Delaware. I think that's a big change for a lot of folks.
Well, at least with me recently, a lot of the people have been. One of the most important things that I always tell people is that obviously you're pre-approved for a certain amount of money, but at the end of the day, it's most important to take the time to go through your finances and factor everything that you have as far as income and what's going out, what's coming in, and find the number that you're most comfortable with. And especially at the beginning of the process, when maybe they haven't decided on a specific area they want to be, then you can say, all right, well, listen, this is what you're comfortably paying every month in your mortgage. Here's some areas of what you can get for that money. And when they see the amount of home that they're able to get down there, then comes the logistical questions as far as, well, what's the area like? What are the school districts like? And a lot of people are willing to expand to an unknown area because of the ability to get more house. And once they get down there, they realize it's very similar to some suburbs they were already looking at. So it's just part of that journey. It's the amount of people who told me over the last however many years they wanted to be in a certain area and wound up buying in an area that they knew absolutely nothing about, and they love it all these years later. It's happens all the time.
Well, it sounds like what you're doing, and this is no surprise here, knowing you and working with you, is you're presenting options other people aren't. Like, they always think, like, I'm living here, I'm just going to find a bigger home in my existing community. And when affordability is a challenge, you really got to present other options. And that's what a great agent does. Is what would it take for you not to move to Delaware? And just have that conversation, because the short-term adjustment, there's so many great private schools and Catholic schools and different things. And also, if your kids are in elementary school, and they're at that break period going to middle school, that's a little easier. So that's pretty fascinating. Especially the tax difference there. Has such an impact on the monthly payment that everyone's really been out of shape about right now.
Well, I think the other thing too is that, this has been more prevalent than ever since COVID, because the market took off, went kind of nuts. And between then and now, back then, and as well as I know, you could predict what was going to happen with the market with a pretty high degree of certainty. But since then, we have a pretty good idea, but we don't have a crystal ball. So the affordability has become so much more of an important part of the conversation, especially during an initial consult over these past couple of years, with affordability continuing to be an issue, with home prices increasing on a yearly basis, in high percentages as compared to how the trends used to be. So it's just, if you can find a home at a price that you can afford, that's going to check all of your boxes, are you willing to make that move right now?
Well, and that's what we were talking about, is that so what Jerome, Lawrence June's saying is we're going to see a 14% bump in sales next year. First of all, awesome. I would be very excited for that,
amazing.
Selfishly for guys like me and you and our team and everyone else. But there's people that have been putting their life off for a few years now. And I'm clear that's going to be a big driver of it. What he also did when he downgraded the sales, and so they're now predicting a 3% increase in home sales for 2012, not 6, not 9. If mortgage rates drop to 6, they expect these numbers to jump up, which I do agree with. But I don't think this is anything that you or I couldn't have shared with somebody. I mean, these NAR revisions, that's what we've been seeing all year long. I mean,
Right.
that's been my view. I mean, that's what you've been seeing in the market as well.
Well, and I think I actually do follow Lawrence Yun on LinkedIn. He's very good at what he does. He always has a lot of really good information, and I think different ways for you to think about the market. But just like us, it was a prediction based on as much information as he could possibly bring about. Um, I mean, we fortunately, I don't feel like we're slow. We're moving a lot of real estate. There's a lot of people that have to move for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
reasons, and I think that that's always going to be the case, regardless. Even regardless of the rates. Um, I would be thrilled if it actually went up and did maintain that 14% next year, just because of the amount of business and the amount of people that we could help. But all you can do is just kind of take it in stride, and
Mm-hmm.
you take it client by client, day by day, and you adjust if necessary. So
Well, some of you said there we're moving a lot of real estate, and I am clear that there's agents that can increase their business in a flat market because of having the right conversations, educating folks, bringing options like, hey, have you?
right,
I don't know if this would be for you, but have you thought about moving to Delaware? The taxes are lower. That's such a great example and it doesn't just apply to Delaware. I mean, you'll see people I want to live on the main line. I want to live in
right,
media, and you show them some of the adjacent communities, and it's like, oh wow, this is right there and
exactly,
and the prices are down for a lot of reasons. So that's one reason, and the other is just having these conversations with folks because if rates do come down, you were in the COVID market. It's going to be super competitive for
right.
buyers.
And
And
there's still people who are holding off entering the market for that reason. Nowhere near the level of competitiveness that we had then. I mean, it was crazy, but you know, if they're looking in an area that is still competitive, if there's still most opportunities, more than 50% are having multiple offers come in, and people are having to bid over asking, and we're covering appraisal gaps and maybe getting light on contingencies. People don't want to be in that market.
mhm.
And if they don't have a specific need that they have to move by a certain time, whether it be for school or for work, I can't really say that I fault them. The biggest thing is just to try and make sure that you present all of the options. Hey, look, yes, this is very competitive, but if you considered maybe this town over, you can still get either the same style of home, or maybe you can get the home for a little bit less money. You're still within this much commute distance of where you want to be as far as work or to, your son's sports, whatever the
Mhm.
case may be. And if we can find something that's going to work, great. If not, then maybe we need to step back and we adjust. Real estate is the long game. You're going to have
Sure.
people that are going to transact right away, and then you're going to have people that you may work on for 5 6 years before you finally find the opportunity.
We've talked about that a lot lately, you and I especially. And so for the consumers that are out there, because you're getting this conversation a lot, you're seeing NARs downgrading their forecast. There's obviously two buckets. There's sellers and buyers. Now, most sellers got to go find a home to buy anyway.
Right.
So for the people that are saying, hey, I'm going to wait for rates to come down, we know there's going to be more competition. What advice do you have for them? Because sometimes waiting might be the right move. What I would hate to see happen is someone misses out on an opportunity
Right.
because they're totally on the sidelines instead of like on the bench observing. If
Right.
you follow what I'm, how are you coaching those folks to make good decisions? Because that's all we're trying to do here.
So always tell people that you should never be 100% out of the market. If you are planning on making a move, selling or buying at any point in the near future, you should at least be out there experiencing what's going on, attending open houses. If you're not having a conversation with an experienced agent who serves the area where you want to be, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because not only do you want to see what's going on in the market that you're hoping to be in, because obviously if you're looking over the period of say 6 months, you can see how the
Mm-hmm.
prices will adjust from the spring market into the summer and then back into the fall market. And sometimes there is opportunities where sellers are going to maybe price their home high. They thought that it was a little bit more aggressive. They wanted to be more aggressive. It sat on the market for whatever the reason was, and then maybe you have an opportunity to get it at asking or even under asking. But to just have no idea what is going on in that market and then to jump in feet first, especially if we do wind up having rates come down, you're just going to wind up being completely discouraged again.
Mm-hmm.
So at least if you are open to ideas, and someone who's, hey, listen, maybe we can try this, let's go check out this open house, it's an area you haven't considered, maybe you'll like what you see, maybe it's something that will open it up for you. Hey, listen, here's what I'm thinking about. Are you maybe willing to do a little bit more work than you originally
Mhm.
had decided? Or, there's just so many different nuances. And I mean, if you're not taking advantage, because a lot of people are pulling back right now. So there could be less competition in a specific
Mhm.
area. So to just be 100% out of it and then to just dive in kind of blindly without any kind of guidance, God, it's like jumping into an empty pool. It's going to be a rough landing. So
How long do you think it takes? So, and you've been doing this a long time. How long do you think it takes from that first conversation with a real estate agent, just like the first interaction, and if the buyer's looking regularly, and maybe it's an activity based question, how long does it take for them to get up to speed to the market? Because the first time they're out, that's like, let's see what's out there. You're kind of looking to see what you don't like as much as what you do like, because I think a lot of people think they can just flip a switch on and off. Now, some buyers, and I'm going to talk about the general buyer, but there's some buyers like, I need to move up in the same school district,
right,
so
right.
they're a little more in tune. So let's kind of take those people out of it. But if they haven't, let's say a first time buyer, the people that are getting beat up the most, how long does it really take them to understand the market in terms of like number of tours, time? What's your experience been there? Because that's the message I think everyone needs to pay attention to. You might be thinking about making a move next year.
Right.
Might be time to start planning now.
I think it really depends on a buyer, but generally, if you're entering the market, say it's in the winter and your plan is to start the process heavy hitting in the spring. So you need to understand how much time a normal length of a transaction is. Obviously, if you're not pre-approved, that's the first hurdle you got to get over. You want to know what your buying power is. Then we have to go through the consultation on how the process works, so that way, if and when you do find the opportunity, you're ready to pull the trigger. So that could, all that could be done inside of a week.
Okay.
Then you need to actually start experiencing the market. If you're open to, say, 5 or 6 different areas over the span of what could be 15 miles, I always tell people it's good for you to drive through those areas during the week, and then on the weekend, see what those neighborhoods are like at different times
Smart.
so that you can experience them. Because they can be vastly different from what it's during the week. It could seem like it's a ghost town, and you're like, oh, well, we're someone who likes to be outside and we want to play with the kids. And on the weekend, people are home and there's people walking dogs or outside in the yard. Then, once you actually get out there and you're looking at homes, I mean, the average statistic is what, 4 to 6 homes before you should be ready to make your first offer. And I mean, if you've had those conversations and you've done the homework in advance and have narrowed into 1 or 2 areas that you seriously consider living there, there's no reason that shouldn't be enough homes. So I would say if you're aggressively looking, it could be as soon as 60 days. There are some people who will come into it late and decide that they want to transact right away. And then there's people who have to wait for a certain amount of time. It could be 6 months. But I mean, from my experience, especially lately, I find most people within that 30 to 45 day window, we're out there looking and we're ready to start making offers.
So, I mean, that's great advice, because I think some people, like, they see a home and they just think it's going to happen automatically. You never want to be like figuring it out when you find that home you want to
Right.
pursue. And so for the folks that are, I would say you're thinking about the fall or you're thinking about next year, just have a conversation with somebody now, have a planning session, because there are opportunities, and I'm clear, are going to be coming to the market over
Right.
the next 6 months when some people are waiting for rates to come down or something else. On the seller side, I think it actually takes longer.
Definitely.
Because one, you got to get the house ready.
Right.
And we looked at some Redfin data when we did our market memorandum, where it's basically a market data training. It takes like 4 months for sellers to really get their head around all this. And I know what my house looks like right now. I don't know what yours looks like, but
It would be ugly.
probably, let's call it similar. We all got kids here. This is real life. It takes time, and I don't think people realize how much prep is involved. And the homes that have a tough time launching, you can tell when the seller didn't take the time prepping the place.
Absolutely.
I showed one yesterday to my cousin, actually, and the movers were there. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing even marketing this home right now? They're moving out. And it's like there's, I mean, just, what a house looks like when it's not clean. There's boxes.
And then when the furniture's moved, there's all the dust that's been under there for God knows how long. And they're nicking the walls when they're moving stuff. And that's really not a good way to position yourself in the market.
I'll give you one better. This home had a shared driveway and had a moving truck in the driveway. And it didn't, And it, like, you wouldn't have noticed how, like, the driveway would have been fine for like
Right.
a normal car, but all of a sudden that accent's like, hey, this is tough getting in and out of with a
Right.
truck.
You wouldn't have to
And
deal with this every day.
it's like having an open house where there's no off-street parking for a property, which is always you're highlighting the negatives.
Right.
So if anyone's been thinking about, and the point of this is, if you've been thinking about making a move 3 months from now, or even September, or just talk to someone like Keith, talk to someone who knows what they're doing, because when you do that, you're prepared for when the right opportunity comes up.
And it's not that it's a difficult process, but it's a process that if you don't do the right steps in the right amount of time, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. And yeah, I mean, if I had to list my house for sale, I honestly think I'd probably be better off just burning it down and starting over with the kids' stuff everywhere, and just we would have to have professional cleaners come in for a month to get that place ready. But I mean, yeah, everyone accumulates stuff. It just happens. So you never realize how much stuff you have until you start moving it out. Family member right now who's getting ready to, we're putting his house up for sale, and they were in the home for 39 years. And the amount of stuff, I am just in absolute awe with the amount of stuff that they had to get out. And they actually donated a lot of it. And Green Drop came over and picked up, I kid you not, 80 boxes of stuff. 80. And there was still stuff they had to get out. So, I mean, you have to think, especially if you're someone who's in a bigger single family home and you're downsizing because you're empty nesters, you're at least a month or two. And getting
and that's
stuff
treating it like a full-time job. I mean,
Right.
it's. I mean, I just helped my neighbors across the street move, and they got the process started in like November, and then
Right.
the home came on the market in like February, and then they closed in June, and that's like a normal time frame.
Right.
And they've been in the home 30 some years, so it's going to take some time. And this is why I really encourage people, if you're waiting on rates or you're waiting for something else, like, you're going to be too late if rates drop and you decide it's time to sell. You want to or buy. You want to be kind of ahead of the game here, in spite of because these revisions. Like, I don't think this is anything that someone that's been in the market hasn't already experienced or thought would happen. I think it's like this big announcement from NAR, but any agent with half a brain and any consumer that's been in the market's already seen this is kind of what to expect this year.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, just based off last year's, we took it in and we put it into our pocket, but I mean, we didn't adjust our approach based on that. We just knew what we had to do. But as simple as it can get with rates, they've been telling us for over a year now, that the rates were going to come down. And have they fluctuated? Of course, they always will. But with home prices continuing to go up, and rates, even when they do coming down a very minor amount, you're only continuing to make your affordability issue even greater by waiting year over year. Because yes, even though you may hopefully get a 6% interest rate, well, the house has gone up 4% every year the last 2 years. So you wound up shooting yourself in the foot anyway.
Well, it's a hedge against inflation. And you can always refinance if rates go down.
Exactly. So, I mean, you're better off just being in the market, and you never know, maybe that opportunity presents itself. And in the long run, when you do the math, you've actually saved yourself money.
Well said. I mean, and there's tons of data out there. When you own a home, your net worth is like, it's going to be exponentially higher. I don't think it's that, but some people do feel shut out. So, speaking of rates, before we take a break and talk about some of this local news, I want to address a rumor that's been going around. We were texting about this. There's this Jerome Powell. There was talk he might resign today because he had that. And then I'm on the way over here. Someone sent me this letter. It says, addressed to the president, the White House, Washington, D.C. I said, I'm like, you didn't read the letter. I mean, look at this thing here. Like, that's clearly a fake letter. Like, it's to the president.
Yeah, exactly.
At the White House.
No one would ever actually address the letter to the president.
I mean, it will be President, Trump is what they would write. And now there is this call that for him to resign. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on Tuesday, earlier today, that Powell doesn't need to resign. I don't think he's going to, by the way. I don't think this is going to happen. He was been appointed twice, and even and Treasury Secretary, who's been critical of him, said there's nothing that tells me he should step down. He's been a good public servant, which I don't disagree with that. His policy decisions, whatever, but this guy's been getting beat up for decades.
Right. There hasn't been anything that's been like a huge.
He's been
scandal.
slow to react. I think
right.
has been the problem
they make
people
it seem
have.
like all of a sudden something happened and he's just going to resign. it's hard to tell what's really accurate these days, regardless of what
I agree.
realm it's in. So
now, what I do think we're going to see is there was nothing happened at the meeting last week, obviously. The next meeting coming up is in September. There's a meeting in 7 days, and then we've got a meeting in September. There is a 95.3% chance, according to the CME group, that nothing happens with rates. There's going to be no movement at rates next week. I would be shocked.
I agree with that.
And the data backs that up. But what I do think may happen when you look at the September meeting, there's a 57.9% chance rates get moved down 25 basis points to 57.9%. And then there's a 48% chance they're in that same 400 to 425 range, that 25 basis point decrease in October. I do think you're going to see the rate cuts toward the end of the year like we did last year.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it kind of suits the trend of what has been happening. So, I mean, I would probably think that's probably true.
That's
true.
It's a well-educated guess, right? We've done our research. I would don't expect Jerome Powell to save you here if you're waiting for rates to come down. If you're an agent or a buyer or a seller, I think what you've got to decide is it the right time to make a move or not? And there's a lot of noise in the economy right now. There's a lot of noise politically. There always is. I mean, people are talking about these late shows getting canceled.
Right?
They're losing $40 million a year, and they're up in arms that it's getting. Imagine if your business lost $40 million a
Exactly.
year. That'd be the end, right?
I mean, I don't really think we're losing a whole lot in the late shows personally.
But anyway, you get the point. There's all this noise out there, and I think you got to focus on what's actually mattering to you.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the best advice I have for consumers right now. Don't buy in all this nonsense about what's going on.
Or talk to someone who's knowledgeable in the market, and they'll actually give you factual information.
That educates you with data.
Exactly.
I could not agree more, Keith. So that's it for what's going on right now in the marketplace. I think it's get ahead, get planning, make sure you're talking to someone who knows what they're doing. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we've got some development news. The best small town to live in the United States is right here in the Philadelphia suburbs. We're going to talk about it all next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Of the Tom Toole sales group at Remax Main.
You take one all the way here.
What's that?
You take Route 1 all the way here.
No, I was trying to get around it. I was
It's
all
horrible.
over the place. It's crazy. And they always do the road work at the most inopportune times of the day.
It's like when they do construction on 42 all summer long. I'm like, awesome.
Our agents love us.
Going to this game tonight?
A successful career, a
Is it
great
what?
life,
Am I?
and an
Phillies game.
unbeatable
You own it?
Agents
Remax
who've
game?
been with us for at least
Now
a year,
we're starting
average
fall ball
30+
practice
sales.
tonight.
Even our brand
we're
new
back in it
agents
already.
average 17 to 24 sales a year.
Leo quit. He's
We
out.
offer
He's like, I'm
proven
done.
systems and expert
He was like the
training.
worst player on the team. So
It was so nice to have that hiatus because I've been focused so much on work, and it's been good. I mean, the last couple of
Dude,
weeks
you've been
I've
rocking and rolling,
been
man.
so busy. Actually, that big one out in Collegeville, he called me last night. We're signing listing documents for that. So yeah,
That's
I got
incredible, man.
Sarah Thornton just called me, and her father-in-law passed away. They have a big house in Wilmington. I guess they were all estranged from him.
Oh, from cross country?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm meeting them Friday. I mean, that's probably going to be
That's incredible.
550, 600. It's a nice big colonial. So I've been so busy. Not complaining at all. It's been
That's-
great. So
Dude, I made like 300 phone calls yesterday. I was like, it's a good time to load up. I mean,
Yeah.
we're in the same boat, man.
exactly. Just trying to keep it pumped up for the rest of the year and into 2026.
There's definitely people out there. Like there's so many people up to 10 right now. Just gotta find them.
Yeah,
Find if you're
and,
good.
well, some of the ISA ones have been coming in. I got 2 really good ones today that are ready to transact.
Like some of that's that market VIP stuff. So we're
Yeah.
doing there because it takes some time for that stuff to ramp up. That's only a month ago though. So.
Well, actually, that one that I had the issue with where I had no contact information, I'm actually meeting them and showing them 2 houses on Thursday.
That's wild how that happens sometimes.
That's Tom Toole with an
Even like there was one time I tracked down some guy at work and I looked at his number in like the white pages. He's like, I can't believe he found me. I heard he moved to Florida, and then it was like down the street from where I grew up, and I'm like, this is incredible. It was like in Chester Springs somewhere.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, man.
Just got it. You get it, man. You have a lot of high volume conversations, and like you get some stuff that comes out of it.
Whether you're a first-time
All
buyer,
right, let me try all
upsizing,
these.
downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost
It's funny,
assistance
I know
programs
exactly
and
where that
access
Target
to
is.
subsidized interest rates.
It used to be the
Pre-approval is
Kmart.
free. No
Yeah, I know.
cost or commitments.
Kmart's
To
a
learn
shit.
more, visit our website.
Dude, talk about a business like went downhill.
Or give us a call at
Yeah, that whole shopping center needed a revamp,
Yeah,
honestly. I
that's
used to
good.
go to that Staples that was in there when I was running the shop, and that Shopping center always sucked.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. Dude, Target. I mean, they put in that mini Target in that like really crappy Acme, and we went by my hand. That like changed like the whole shopping center.
But it's so far away.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. He's Keith Lombardi. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we've got some local development news happening here. I'm going to finish off with the best small town to live in. We're going to lead with that, but we've got. I think the people there need to be really proud. I have a lot of history there. There's a Target coming to West Goshen. We're going to talk about what that means for the community. Upper Marion Township just came to agreement on an 11-acre parcel next to a new construction Toll Brothers development in King of Prussia. There's a Conshohocken steel plant attracting developers. But first, what I want to talk about is Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, voted the best small town to live in by Travel and Leisure. I want to get your reaction to this first, Keith. I mean, what do you think about this? Because I grew up adjacent to Phoenixville. I went to grade school in Kimberton, which is part of Phoenixville. What do you think about this?
I honestly am not surprised. I mean, I have cousins who moved out there. God, we got to be 10 plus years ago, before it was what it's become. And I mean, it's just such a great small town, especially as you've seen a lot of the market in Delaware County pushing west.
Mm-hmm.
People who love Ardmore and media and that downtown walkability. I mean, Phoenixville is the next best thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've really done so much to make that such a nice borough. I actually was just up there recently. I have a client who happens to have a home that literally is 4 minutes from downtown. And I'm like,
nice.
That's your selling point right there.
Yeah.
You know, you need a night out, beautiful suburban home, yard for the kids. But hey, date night, boom, Phoenixville Borough right there. Can't beat it.
So I grew up in Chester Springs, which is about like 8 minutes from right off 113 across from the Montgomery School. And in 1985, Phoenixville did not look like this when my family moved there. The only thing I remember about Phoenixville was we had some friends that lived there. You didn't go downtown. They had a baseball card shop called JR's right on Bridge Street.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a baseball card shop affording that rent right now. Like that was wild to me, but it was like the best place around for a kid. But you didn't want to go into Phoenixville Borough.
Right.
And the people of Phoenixville should be really proud of this.
Absolutely.
Because this town has come a long way from, originally it was, I mean, they had like the steel mill there and all that stuff. And I mean, it's obviously changed a lot. It's one of the classic town that like relied on things and then the industry left. And you've got the Iron Hill Brewery down there. I've got a client who has a restaurant down there that's gotten like acclaim from Philadelphia Magazine. You got Molly Malone's, like all these places that are iconic people want to go to. Now you've got the farmer's market there, which used to be like a nothing sort of parking lot. I mean, you're seeing the Gateway Pharmacy has been there for decades. That's I've actually went to school with some of the owners there, and this town has come such a long way. And I'm really happy for the people of Phoenixville, because if you saw what it used to look like, and when was the first time you went to Phoenixville?
God, probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm dating myself. It was like 40 years ago when I went, I mean, literally. And it's incredible what that town has done. And you've got like the farmer's market, the brewery events. They've got the live music nights. Bridge Street is this like cool, vibrant place. I'm just really happy for all the people that live there. I think it's an incredible thing. And what we've seen is like, and this is wild, Phoenixville's now like a pricey place to live. Like there's people that can't afford Phoenixville anymore, which would have never happened until the past like 7 or 8 years.
Right. I mean, so I remember I first experienced it when I had people who wanted to look out in Collegeville.
Mm-hmm.
And that was obviously before Collegeville and Royersford got as big as they are now as well. And I couldn't tell you one thing about Phoenixville other than the fact that I had cousins who lived there, and that was pretty much all I knew. And I just happened to go through it, and it's really become such a cool place. I mean, like especially if you're looking to experience something different, if you're tired of, just the same old places. I know my wife and I get like that, especially with restaurants and food. There is just so many cool places, or, it's not quite as hot out and you want to get out of the house because it's been 1,000,000 degrees.
Yes.
cool place to go walk around and just go into the shops and experience things, different food, different places to drink. Really, really cool spot. And that obviously is doing wonders for the housing market around it as well, as we know. And I couldn't tell you in the past 6 months, just talking to new buyers, what areas are you thinking? Phoenixville has been at more than 50%. It's a huge place. A lot of people want to be there. So that's awesome for everyone that lives in that area.
Yeah, I think it's just a cool thing. I mean, it's the ultimate like American like underdog story. Like they rebuilt, they revamped the city. They've got, I mean, they have Steel Point there now. Like these
Right.
townhomes fly off the shelf. They're going for like $700,000. I mean, stuff people wouldn't have thought of, even 10, 15 years ago. So very, very cool. Really happy for Phoenixville. I think that's a great story there. And then Lewis, Delaware was in like the top 10, which is pretty cool. You ever been to Lewis?
That I can definitely see, and it's funny because,
Well, it's a beach town, so it's got
Right.
that going for it.
well, and we were always the Jersey Shore people. We were, but we actually went down there purposely, personal trip, and went down with a relative, and was really shocked. I mean, really cool place. And then we were able to go back for a baseball tournament as well. And I mean, it's really cool. Never in a million years would I have said that if we were actually to purchase a shore house that we would consider Delaware. But after these last couple of years, I mean, it's definitely up there. And it's a lot of people who can now not afford to buy at the Jersey Shore are going to the Delaware Shore.
Yeah, and I think for folks, especially if you're in like Delaware County, depending on where you are, it might be just as easy getting down there, which is really cool. But that's a beach town. I think that's got a leg up on it. Phoenixville, that's a cool thing. So
Yeah.
very happy for them. We've got some other local news in Chester County. West Goshen has officially made it. They've got a Target coming
They're
into
on the map now.
So you mentioned, I know what this shopping center used to look like. So this is going to be right off of Paoli Pike. What do you think that's going to do for the community there?
So obviously everyone loves Target, and where this is, or if you live either in the borough or south of it, like my mother-in-law lives in Willistown, there really is no good retail store from that area. You're going to Exton at that point if you want to go to Target, because going the other way back towards Delaware County, I think you have to go to the Promenade.
I think you're right, which is a lot. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, this is going to be awesome. It's going to make shopping so much easier for people. And it's going to really do really good things for that shopping center. Before I was even in real estate, I used to go to that shopping center to get business supplies there. And it was always kind of like, like there were some good things in there. Some of the smaller places were good, but it was always kind of run down. So it's awesome that they're going to, help the local area by bringing in a Target. And obviously, we all know everyone loves Target. I mean,
well, you bring up something there because people go to Target. It's almost like a grocery store equivalent. Like you go there when you need like some like household good or something like that. And driving to Exton's a pain. I mean, from Westchester,
yeah. Pain.
Well, especially that like Route 130 sort of corridor there. Wendy used to live right by there, and she still commutes in that way. And if that's jammed up, it's like a disaster. So it also speaks to me to the quality of what Westchester has done with the borough and some of the shopping there, because you're right, there isn't a lot of shopping. I mean, our office is in Westchester, one of them, and it's like a dead zone. Right. I mean, you're in Newtown Square. That's a lot closer for you than going to Springfield.
But even with that, there's really no retail shopping there.
You're right.
It's mostly all food, and there's a couple restaurants and like
a Whole Foods, stuff like that. So I think this is a great thing for the community, number one, and also too. I mean, anytime you see that happening, like if I see a Target getting built and I'm wondering where I'm going to move to, these kind of things would get my attention as a home buyer, because if they're making that kind of investment there, it speaks a lot to what's going on locally with, income moving to the area, people with jobs. You're right by QVC, right? I mean, QVC is a huge company that employs a lot of people. That's right there as well. And avoiding going to Exton. I used to work at the Exton Square Mall before it got closed, before they even put the addition on. Remember when it used to be like the small mall?
That mall always needed help.
Well, it's getting sold now, so that's done. That's a done deal. But I think that speaks a lot to Westchester, to Chester County. Like you said, there's no retail. I think that's a really great thing coming to the community there with that Target.
Well, and not that people weren't already coming that direction.
You're right,
because of Westchester, but the ability, if God forbid, you need one or two items for dinner, to have to go all the way to Exton, and now being able to just go a couple blocks over and go to Target, that's huge. And I definitely think that's going to bring more people to the area, and obviously it's going to help the area as well.
That is a funny shopping center there too, because they have that. I think there was a grocery store in there, and then they had like the Chester County bookstore, and then there was like a Staples, and you're right by 202 and Paoli Pike, so it's a great location for sure. But I think you're also going to pull the people coming up from like Southern Chester County, that maybe don't want to go to like Chad's Ford and like that area.
Right.
Like there's enough people that live down here now. I think it's really going to support this.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a huge section of that shopping center that hasn't been utilized in the longest time because it was a Kmart, and we know how long most of them have been closed. So it's just it's going to be great just because I think it was 120,000 square feet of space. So huge store. It'll be one stop. You'll be able to get everything you need. So it's going to be really helpful to everyone who lives in that area. I mean, I know if I lived there, I would dread having to go to the Exton Target just because of, like you said, the 100 and 202 quarter, and that's always backed up pretty much regardless of what time of day it is.
Yeah,
so that's
for
a huge
sure.
help.
So we got some more news here. So we got some exciting things happening. So Westchester's getting a Target. Phoenixville, best small town to live in. This is interesting, and I want to make sure we have enough time to go over our open houses and new listings for the weekend. So Upper Marion, they bought the township. They bought an 11-acre King of Prussia property parcel, and it's right next to the new Toll Brothers development up there off of East DeKalb Pike. And they bought it for $8 million. It's 150 East DeKalb Pike. It's currently occupied by Rossi Auto Salvage, and it's closing in 18 months. Plans are undecided, and there was some residential development plans that were turned down. So there's rumors of like some green space there and like a park. I mean, this is immediately south of the Toll Brothers Stonebrook development in Upper Marion. What do you think about the township buying this land? I mean, that's a big piece of land in a prime area.
I'm actually really glad to hear this because even from someone who is in real estate, sometimes things can get too overdeveloped.
Okay.
They get crowded. And King of Prussia has really been booming the last couple of years. A lot of new construction, and it's all different types. I mean, from the new condos that went in. Actually, had a cousin who owned one of them, and then all of the different tall town homes, carriage homes, and these big single family developments. It's getting a little crowded, and I think people still want to have some green space. They want to have some place where they can take the kids or the dog.
Mhm.
So by keeping, not overdeveloping an area, I think is great because obviously, you want to have people there, but you don't want people to then exit an area because they feel like they're smushed. And I actually have heard that about Chester Springs as well. So I think it's smart of them to think big picture,
Mhm.
that way. So I hope it works out for them. And I know, hopefully they do good things with this parcel.
It's funny you say that about Chester Springs because I grew up there. So in the 80s, there was like nothing, right? There was
Right.
like farms and all sorts of stuff. Now I go back and my family since moved out of there. Parents downsized. I mean, it is a little more congested than you would think. And I would put like Lionville as part of Chester Springs.
Yeah,
Chester
definitely.
Springs is a very small zip code. This is interesting to me because King of Prussia, I mean, you have the Netflix house that's going in there, which is one of like two in the country, and they're going to have some like show sort of. It's almost like a theme park
Right.
indoors. And I think that what you're seeing is that a lot of people. I mean, King of Prussia is pushing to get the train to come out to them. Upper Marion, I should say, not King of Prussia. And a junkyard has no place on DeKalb Pike. I think that's a good thing. Like, you just got to get rid of that. I would hope there'd be like some mixed use space or something. But if you look at like these new homes that are getting built in King of Prussia, I mean, they're on top of each other.
Yeah.
And we've sold a number of them. And if you want that kind of downtown living, it's a great suburban alternative. I find it interesting that Toll Brothers is right next door, and they didn't approve the plans. So if they're going to be a park, I think that's good.
It's a lot of land. I mean,
yeah.
I would think smartly they are going to have to do something other than just make it green space because I mean it's 11 acres.
I would hope so.
Yeah, but I mean, not putting in another huge development of tall townhomes where you can't even see anything because they're just so tall you can't see past them. People still want to maintain a little bit of a view. So to be surrounded on all sides by just homes, I think this was smart. And getting rid of the salvage yard, absolutely. And it's funny because I know that salvage yard from my mechanic days. But I think that there is a really good opportunity there to bring people into the area more than they already are by showing, listen, we're not just about trying to cram as many people in here as possible. So we let them build another 50 home development on top of one another, but we're keeping the area revitalized by, getting rid of the junkyard, and we're putting this in. Smart move. I really like it.
Well, I think, I mean, just getting nothing wrong with the junkyard, but that's right in like a prime area there. And there's going to be
Okay.
access to 202 and to Henderson Road from this particular parcel. So there could be a lot of things that happen there. So we'll see what goes on with that. But I mean, it looks like a positive development. And the last thing here, real quickly, we got 2 new listings and 4 open houses to talk about. The idled Conshohocken steel plant. So if you don't know where this is there's a storage yard. It's called the Cleveland Cliffs Steel Mill in Conshohocken, and it's right now they're saying that there's inbound interest in the Eastern Pennsylvania factory as well as, and they have one in Illinois as well. And they're manufacturers and developers are looking at this. You know where this is, right, Keith? So it's kind of like when you're driving. It's a 66-acre site.
Okay.
It's right along the Schuylkill, and has both river access, highway, and railroad access.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you see a company like an Amazon or like a Google come in here and build like another headquarters. I mean, this is interesting to me. It's at 900 Conshohocken Road. It's in Plymouth Township, even though it's got a Conshohocken address. So it's kind of like if you were cutting through Conshohocken going to like the Metroplex,
Right.
that's where it's located. That to me is an untapped resource. I mean, the fact that there's that kind of development spot there. I mean, it's another. This is the kind of stuff I think a lot of local leaders need to think about. How can you recommission these places to bring maybe more housing or more people to the area?
I think it's really going to depend on what that they're going to do with it, because I mean that's a pretty cool location. And Conshohocken obviously has also been booming. A lot of people,
It's wild
especially,
what's going on in Conshohocken.
yeah, bringing in a lot of younger generation with the downtown and all that cool space. But they've had their booming, new construction out there as well. I think maybe Google or something like that would be cool, like you mentioned. I don't know that I would want to see an Amazon hub there.
Well, I mean, and they do have these data centers they're building. So, I mean, I'm just looking at companies that might look at something like that. So, and unfortunately, there was 700 employees were laid off. So, I mean, another hub that would bring some jobs to the area would probably be a good thing. But I like when they repurpose stuff like the scrapyard. That's what you want to see happen, not just like this vacant land sit around. Otherwise, you look like the city of Philadelphia.
Especially with a steel mill with like all that equipment just kind of sitting there,
Yeah.
they look pretty decrepit. So repurposing it is smart. And potential for strip mall shopping and things like that. A lot of different opportunity to bring back jobs there as well, which would be pretty cool.
And that's I think really what you got to look at is how can you bring jobs into areas that are going to bring more residents in. So
right, and obviously that's going to help Conshohocken with the revenue.
I mean, I don't think they have a problem with that. But
yeah, I mean, every little bit helps, right?
All right, so we got some new listings coming on the market. I'm going to run through these, Keith, and tell me what you think of them. So we got 2 new listings launching this week. The first one is over in Hilltop Condos in Brookhaven at 6406 Hilltop. This is a 2-bed, 1.5 bath townhome. It's deeded as a condo, 968 square feet. Asking price of $229. This looks like a pretty good number given what goes on in Hilltop. One of the more affordable places to live, in my view, in Delaware County. The place it's in good shape. It's clean. It's neat. It's got some original stuff in there, but it's been very well cared for. And this is going to be open both Saturday from 11 to 1 and Sunday 1 to 3. What do you think about this place, Keith? I would imagine you've probably done some deals in Hilltop.
Yes. I mean, it's very much popular with first-time buyers.
Mm-hmm.
People who don't want the responsibility of having to maintain like a lawn and things like that have shown a lot of the different types of homes between the condos, and then they have the kind of townhouse style as well. Nice little place. I mean, I think obviously it's going to be geared more towards someone who's downsizing or maybe first time buyer. Great area, great access to everything right there. I mean, literally you come out, you're on 352.
Mm-hmm.
You have every kind of shopping you could ever need right there. So couldn't beat the location.
But you talk about the shopping. I mean, they've done a nice job with some of the shopping centers along 352 where you got like the Starbucks in there and some other stuff. So right. Brookhaven's done a great job with that. Great opportunity. Open Saturday and Sunday, 6406 Hilltop Drive. The other new listing is 26 North Ridgeway Avenue in Glen Olden. So this is a single-family home for $350,000. It's right by the train line down there. It's 1,888 square feet, 4 beds, 2 baths. This place has got very high ceilings. It's in incredible shape, really well cared for. And you've, I don't know where else you're going to find a single-family home for $350,000. I mean, that's at that size space, and you've got 3 bedrooms on the second floor, and you got a 4th bedroom on the 3rd floor there. What do you think about that number, Keith? That's Delaware County.
I mean, really, and the exterior of that as well. I mean, that really, it looks almost like new construction. I mean, you're basically going to get new construction in Glen Olden. It's a really nice looking place, and for that price, you can't beat it.
And you don't have any neighbors that are attached to you, so that's good. We got 2 quick open houses. 1879 Boulder Drive just had a price adjustment to $525. This is in Downingtown. It's an end unit townhome. That's 1,800 square feet. That's going to be open on Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. Great value out in West Bradford Township. And the last one is 90 Indiantown Road in Glenmore. This is a 4,000 square foot single family home. Just had a price adjustment to $9.25 on a 1.4 acre lot. This has an in-law suite, attached garage, your own slice of privacy out in Downingtown School District. And that's going to be open Sunday 1 to 3. So that's all we got here. Keith, thanks for coming on. Where can people follow you on Instagram? What's your handle?
Oh, God, Kalom Real Estate.
Kalom Real Estate, KLOMB. That's what he said, real estate. You can follow Keith on Instagram. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD, at Tom Toole 3rd. We'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. Turn this off before we say anything foul here.